Are you a health educator who's not getting as many views on your content, your messages, or your events, having as many attendees as you would like? Here's what you can do, because this is something that when we get into business and we want to share our health knowledge with others, it's something that can be challenging when you don't see the views, or when you're pouring your heart, your soul into your message and there's a few people in the room. I'm going to share with you because God has allowed our family business to make over $500,000, having no email lists, with a very small social media following, and hardly anyone knew who I was. And so what I'm going to share with you is how you can still build a profitable health education business, even if you have a small audience, little to no audience online. I'm going to share with you 3 big ideas that I believe is going to help a lot of small health educators who are seeking to make a difference in people's lives. Now, the first thing that really helped me is remembering why you started creating content in the first place. Because a lot of times we get started, and this is what we think success looks like. This is what we think when we start this journey of our health education business. It's just going to be like from zero to the sky, and we're just going to have such a blast. Everybody's going to join. They're going to be so excited. We'll be able to monetize this, replace our income, and so much more, right? But this is what actually happens, what success really looks like. You see, there's ups and there's downs, and there's ups and there's the vision peaks, and there's the valley, there's the dark moments, there's the light moments, and sometimes it feels unstable and confusing. But the good news is if you notice the theme, like a through line throughout it all, you can actually see that the gradual incline is actually improving over time, and that your lows are not as lows anymore, and your highs are even higher. So a lot of times, when the vision is high, or like at the peak, you get like increased views, and the bottom you get less, and then just like content, it kind of goes up and down, and that's just somewhat the nature of the game. And then sometimes income goes up and down. Sometimes clients, they go up and down. But you learn things through the process. And one thing that has always anchored me and given me some strength during the lows is remembering, why did I start in the first place? And I know, for me, I had a heart attack when I was 12 years old, and it was because one man with a health message, he learned how to monetize his health knowledge and package that into a book and a program, and he sold that program to my mother, that I'm alive to tell the story today. And so I know that health educators have a life-transforming message, and even now, we're able to have a profitable health education business, but we don't have tons of views, and there's been seasons on different platforms that have had some more views than others, but that's okay. Part of the reason why is because when we're in this business, we are in the business of building relationships. And sometimes we're able to go deeper with a few than really wide. And I think that one of the big mistakes that a lot of new creators make is they're so focused on scaling and reaching lots of people, and will follow creators and influencers, marketers, gurus that are teaching you about how to go viral. But the problem with viral is viral doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to reflect your bank account. When you focus on vanity metrics, those vanity metrics, views, comments, likes, shares, those don't directly relate to income and sometimes even impact. You might capture their attention, but how are you monetizing that? I've learned that a lot of big health influencers are broke. They have no idea the business side, the back end of business, because you might be able to get their attention, and if done correctly, lots of views can lead to business if you have the back end set up, if you have some of the marketing machine in behind to be able to help serve people and bring them on a journey. So it's really important to recognize that, one, it's not so much about the views. And sometimes we get discouraged. We're like, oh, I post content and there's only 100 people that showed up. But excuse me, could you imagine if you were speaking to 100 people in a room? How many of you would be glad to communicate to 100 people? You're like, yeah, I would love to share my message with them. Type 100 in the chat below. And you could see that 100 people in a room, these are 100 people that put their time, their effort, their energy into thinking of you, listening to you, and hearing your message, your heart. And like these are people that we want to honor, because when you find those first like faithful 50, it's like that core group of people, you can build a very profitable business doing that. And so what it's so important that we don't undermine the first followers, the first few who are listening. And then also recognize that we can go deeper with the few and respond to comments, respond to messages, strike up conversations. I know when I first started in my my late teens, I was creating content, and I'd find people on the comment section. I'm like, hey, would you like to get on a video call? We could do a video, we could have a conversation, and we record it and post it. That was some of my earliest content. So you can actually dive deep with a few, and then they'll open up more doors and people that they'll introduce you to. And big things can happen with small conversations and small audiences. Here's an example of someone that I am in this marketing program with, and he posted on the community, and he's like, look, this video is like, the video quality is not the best. He's like in his dining room table talking to someone about his area. He's in the health coaching niche. He's like a bicyclist. He teaches people how to ride bikes, like in competitions. So this video got 130 views, right? He's got bad lighting. He's got a bad camera, only about 160 views. And he booked 20 calls. He signed up 9 people to a $6,000 coaching program, and he made $48,000 in a week. So you see, like, you don't need to have a massive following to make big money online. You just got to have the right strategy, have the right messaging and market match. And sometimes when we focus on the wrong things, it gets distracting. And but sometimes too, it's like you might get one of those videos that are doing pretty well. And like for me, I've been posting some reels, and I've been working on my system for posting daily reels, and that's been fun. And some of them are really taking off. Some of them are getting thousands of views. But what's cool is that online, it's also important to realize that when you see a view, that represents a person. That's a soul. That's a being who has a family, who has parents, who has loved ones, who has dreams, visions. They have desires in life. Like they're real people with real problems, and they're listening, tuning into you, finding health solutions. And it's so important to realize, like, hey, even if you do get 3,000 views, like, what does that look like? And what does 3,000 people actually look like? This would, if you get 3,000 views on a video, that's going to fill the entire Wells Fargo arena in Iowa. That has a maximum seating capacity of 3,000. So if you see the screen, like, it's amazing, because we have the ability to pull out our phone, go live, and talk to an instant audience of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. And it's incredible the opportunities that we have today. So, I mean, it's a wonder that we don't create content more. And I look back and I see, like, one of the most rewarding habits that I've ever formed in my life was creating content. And I've been doing it since 2012. That was the first time I posted on YouTube and on a different brand. And it's been amazing. All of the opportunities, the people that I've met, and the doors that have opened, the places that I've traveled, a lot of them can be traced back to some form or fashion of the content I was creating over the years. So it's just like, that's not something you want to sleep on. And also, it's also encouraging to remember that your favorite influencers, your favorite the people that you learn a lot from, your mentors online, these health educators who've really changed the world and done something big, they all started with just one view, one follower, their first subscriber. And it's like, sometimes you feel like, well, I'm just not, like, I don't have enough following. I don't have a big enough audience, and it can be discouraging. But just remember, like, everybody started with one subscriber. People tell me often when I talk about creating lighthouse content that lets your light shine and solves problems for people, they're just like, yeah, but like, I can't create content because I don't have a following online. It's like, wait, what? And then sometimes people are like, well, I don't want to post on Facebook because Facebook doesn't have my ideal audience. It doesn't have my ideal clients. Those aren't the people that I want to reach. One thing I learned from one of my first millionaire mentors, Dave MacArthur, was like, your message determines your audience. The reason you don't have a following is because you haven't posted. The reason you don't have an audience of your ideal clients on that platform is because you haven't been speaking to your ideal clients. But the moment you speak to your ideal clients, like by being able to consistently publish, that's how you make yourself findable. And they start tuning in, they start becoming interested, engaged, and they're like, wow, this is amazing, this is great. So you don't want to think that like, well, because I don't have subscribers, that means I can't post. It's just be faithful with the few. That's why my favorite verse in the Bible is Luke 16:10. He that is faithful in that which is least will be faithful also in much. He that is unjust in that which is least will be unjust also in much. And when you're able to be faithful with the few, if you got 50 views, great. My goal is to be extremely faithful with the people that God has entrusted in my life. And by doing that, it opens up bigger doors. It opens up more clients. It opens up more possibilities that I wouldn't otherwise have alone. And it's encouraging to know that you're not alone. Every successful health educator who's ever started with one. They started with the first few. Like I remember Dr. Holistic, he was saying too, when he first got started, he was speaking to like 50 people in a room. It was a small group. Now he's speaking to tens of thousands, but it started with the first 50. And while he nurtured and supported and showed up for those 50, they brought other people. They became champions of his brand. And then now he's got hundreds of thousands of subscribers and he's reaching a lot of people. So that makes a really big difference. So the number one is remember why you started. This makes such a huge difference. And number two is to really create a follow-up system for the leads that you generate, the people, the conversations you have. And it's been said many times, and I agree, that the fortune is in the follow-up. And one of the reasons, it's not often a lack of views, it's not often a lack of attention, it's a lack of follow-up. Because the conversations are huge. So if you want to have like consistent content, never run out of content ideas to talk about. Or if you never want to, if you never want to, like you want to be able to create content that converts, that's relevant to your ideal clients, this is what I call the consistent content cycle. This cycle of content really simplifies it for a lot of people. The first, what you want to do is you want to create content, like record something, share something of value, a story, an insight, a personal opinion, an experience you've gone through. When you create content on these topics, then you're able to capture some attention, and really you want to listen to your audience, listen to the comments. Some people comment, they're like, that was fantastic, or that was wonderful, I appreciate that, it made a lot of sense. I remember I was doing some videos. I started with like a Samsung Galaxy S3, just a simple phone as a teenager, recording my mom's living room, and I used like this little tripod, this little hand-me-down tripod for when my mother was in college, and it didn't really stabilize very well. And I either didn't know they existed or maybe they weren't popular at the time, but like those adapters that goes through a tripod for your phone, like I don't think those were a thing. So I went to the hardware store and I bought a wing nuts and some super glue, popsicle sticks, and some rubber bands. And I like slapped that phone and wrapped it with some rubber bands on the tripod just to be able to communicate hands off to record videos. And I was just completely new. I mean, it wasn't something, if we could switch the view, that'd be great. That wasn't something that I was used to. And I was just recording in the living room, and some of those videos got thousands of views, reaching people from around the world. And I just started with what I have. So many people, they procrastinate. And a lot of health educators will be like, oh, I need this light, I need this camera, I need this studio, I need this software, I need all these equipment. But you know, equipment can often be another form of an expensive procrastination of your dreams, of delay, of preventing. It's like, oh, I don't know how to use this technology, or I don't have the right camera or microphone. And a lot of people, like, if we just use, like what God said to Moses, Moses, what's in your hands? And he's going to use what's already in your hand to deliver the children of Israel. Many of us, if God asked us what's in your hand, we'd say we have a cell phone. And your cell phone alone is enough to get started. When I posted a daily video every day for 100 days, I wanted to overcome. I was like, look, I'm not that great at creating content. I'm not that comfortable talking to cameras. I'm more used to speaking to audiences in person, but having a conversation with a camera lens was uncomfortable. So to overcome that fear, what I did is like I just posted every day for 100 days. I went live. And I didn't have the video editor I have now, or like I've got Cameron on the slides, and he's editing these things live so that when we hit stop record, it's all edited, which is awesome. I didn't have like the audience here to be able to communicate on Zoom, which is great. I'm so glad you guys are able to join. When I started, it was just me and my phone, and I literally went live on Instagram, went live on Facebook every single day. And as I posted, then there's other people where even some of you have seen Shanicia, who, with Shanicia, she schedules all my speaking engagements. She interacts with a lot of our strategic partners, and people talk to her and like, wow, I need me as Shanicia. And people talk about, they're like, how are you surrounded by such talented people who are able to build funnels and book stages and to be able to close deals and understands all these skills? Are like, I want this. And I'm like, well, they didn't have all these skills when they first started working with me. These are things that I've trained them on, or bought courses or coaching and helped to equip them with these skills. And like with Shanicia, she watched my videos every day. She was over in Georgia, I'm in Idaho, and she was watching these videos, and she's like, this has changed my life. This is making sense. This is just what I need to hear. I've never heard things like this before. So she reached out to us. She's like, I wanted to apply to be a part of the team. Like, I want to participate in helping get this message out to others. And so that opened the doors for her to be able to help schedule the content, where I took those reels, which for me, scheduling content is not something I enjoy or I do, and it's hard for me to be consistent at. So, but there's one thing I could be consistent. I could record, I could post, I can hit the live button. And as I shared live, she's like, okay, I like that. She likes organizing and doing those things. So I was like, all right, you can take the live videos that we've done and go schedule them for YouTube. Strip the MP4 to get the audio and publish it on our podcast. So we had the Army of Youth podcast, and she was so consistent with that. And then we started to expand the brand and reach more people and different audiences. And but my point of saying all this is, start with what you have. What you have is more than enough to do what God's called you to do. In fact, in the book of Corinthians, Paul says, if there first be a willing mind, it is acceptable according to what a man hath, not what he hath not. So a lot of times we feel like, I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too inexperienced, or I'm too boring, or I don't have any story, I'm not adequate enough, I'm not qualified enough, I'm not credentialed enough. We just have this feeling of like, I'm just not enough to go teach people about health, or that people would want to pay me for health, or maybe I'm not worth enough to be able to charge a premium for my health advice. But the verse says that if there first be a willing mind, it's acceptable according to what you have, not according to what a man hath not. So you always have more than enough to do what God's called you to do, and that's so helpful. So back in this consistent content cycle, you create content, you find people who engage and they comment. They're like, wow, this has changed my life. Like, and which, by the way, like, how many of you have been finding this content to be helpful, valuable? Like, type value in the chat if these things are connecting with you. These stories resonate, and they're like, this makes sense. And just as I've been sharing stories that have resonated with you or inspired you, you're able to share your health stories that inspire other people. They comment, and you're able to take those comments and turn them into conversations. That's where, for years, I've taken comments and say, hey, let's talk. And I send them direct messages and say, well, what stood out to you? What did you like? What are your goals? Hey, would you be interested in getting on a Zoom with me, a video call? We could discuss these things further. And I remember one video, I was doing this, and I always do it like, in exchange for your permission to record and publish these, I'm willing to do some consultation. Let's do that. When you set the expectation up front, a lot of people are happy to actually get on a video call with you and you're having a conversation. So instead of talking to a camera, don't talk to a camera. Talk to a person and record it and then publish that. And as you publish, you will start to build consistency and following, and more people will tune in. I remember one guy commented on this recording that I did, this one-on-one conversation that was recorded and published on YouTube. He was like, brilliant, I love the teachings of this young lad. And I responded, I said, well, if you love the teaching of this young lad, would you be willing to like feature my YouTube channel on yours? Because he had like over 200,000 subscribers. And he's like, more than that, I'm willing to get on a call with you. We can do a call, and which is the next step. and then I will share with your message to my audience. And I was like, okay, cool. So we got on Skype because that was popular back then. This is before Zoom. And he interviewed me, asked me a bunch of questions, and I was, by God's grace, he gave me the words to say, answered all of them. He was really impressed. I was probably 19 years old, and he was like, subscribe to this young man. I've been following him, watching his videos. I really appreciate it. And that day I got hundreds of subscribers instantly. The day he dropped the video, I was like, whoa. And the next day I got hundreds more, which was a few less than before. And the next day I got about 100, which was like, it trickled down, but it was still like, there was a big spike in the following. And I just realized that these recordings with strategic partnerships, like these are where the big audience is. You don't need a large audience to have to reach people. It's by learning how to book stages where you can share your message to their audience, where you can be interviewed on their platforms, or you can collaborate with others who already have the ideal audience of your dream clients. And this is powerful. So they're either with strategic partnerships, or you can go from comments to conversations to consultation calls. And in those consultation calls with your ideal clients, having conversations with them, you start hearing their concerns. You start hearing what are their objections, their fears, their troubles. They're like, well, I can't do it because my spouse doesn't eat with me. And then you're like, okay, so then you turn those concerns back into content. So what's your next video going to be about? How to eat and live healthy even when your spouse is not on board. That's your content. And then you get comments, and you go to conversations, and you get on a call. And when you're on a call with someone else, they're like, well, I can't eat healthy because healthy food tastes gross. And what's your next video? Your next video is about 7 ways to make delicious, easy, nutritious food. And then you're able to show that. And then you go through and people are like, well, I can't eat healthy because healthy food is expensive. So what's your next video? You're able to show affordable things, or like the biggest cost of your life. And it's not taxes, and it's not housing. It's a cost of ignorance, a cost of not knowing how to fix your health. So as you're able to turn these concerns into content, and you're showing people what the reason why they say they can't, you create content, your stories, your messages, let that be communicating to people that inspire hope, faith, trust, love, possibility, and courage. That's what you're able to do. And as you go through that process, you are now creating a follow-up system. And a lot of those calls, people are going to want to buy from you. They're going to find so much value. Why? Because you know your audience, because you listen to your audience, because you actually conversate with them. Whether it's an audience of one or an audience of many, you're solving problems that actually help them. One of the reasons why our clients love coming back and referring others is because we actually address problems. Like when it comes to the problems that health educators go through to monetize their knowledge online, like this is something that me and my team, we eat, breathe, sleep, and we just look at, and we constantly fill our minds to figure out how can we solve problems for you. In fact, one of our clients, our accelerator clients, Christopher, he said that, Enoch and his teams, they're thinking of solutions to problems that we don't even know exist. They're thinking about how to solve problems in my business even more than I'm thinking about how to solve problems in my business. And that's why he said it was the best investment in coaching he's ever made in his life. And that's what you get to be for them. It's when you pick a profitable problem and you just look for what are all the concerns, challenges, obstacles, roadblocks that people face that prevents them from succeeding, and you address that. And that's what you create content about. And they could be your own personal problems at first. Like that's how you start. Like what would you teach a younger version of you? What would you share with someone who was like 5 years younger, or when you were just getting started on this journey? And a lot of times when you speak to that person, it makes a huge difference. It makes it a lot more clear of what kind of things would you teach or share, and it's really profound. So you want to create a follow-up system. And then number 3 is always use hook, story, offer. This is so key whenever you're communicating, whether it's offline, at events, health nuggets, whether it's calls, whether it's anywhere that you're speaking, or it's online, whether it's in an email or a web page or a short video that's under 60 seconds. If it's a longer video for like YouTube or an interview, like always have a hook, story, offer. This is the HSO script. And in my book on a high ticket health coaching, I go into more detail about this, but this is really like the core of your six-figure speech, and it's just simplified. And one thing that I teach is how you can craft one signature speech, and that one signature speech is able to be intentionally, strategically designed to educate people closer to sale, to bring value to the back end of your back end offer. So what does it stand for? The H stands for hook. What is a hook? A hook is something that you use to capture people's attention, to stop them from scrolling. If they're scrolling through the social media, the hook, it could be visual, it could be verbal, it could be something that's written, and it could be a story, it could be a sound, it could be some picture or video, whatever it is. Like, learn to collect hooks. It's always amazes me to see health educators who are posting videos. They want to go change the world, but the title of their video is like health message part 14 out of 23. And then they've got health message part 15 out of 23. It's like, who wants to watch that? No wonder. And then you always see that their views are like 5 people or 1 or none. And that's hard. So by giving a hook, you'll be able to capture people's attention a lot more. And it doesn't matter how great your content is. You can have the best content on planet Earth on your health topic, but if you cannot capture their attention and retain their attention long enough, they're not going to listen. They're going to tune out. They're going to space out. Even if you're at a live event, you know that they tuned out because they're on their phone and they're just scrolling through, looking at other stuff. And on the computer, it's even more clear. They listen and they skip out. And so what you want to do is understand that creating hooks, titles, headlines, this isn't something you want to skip or outsource. It's a skill that you want to develop, you want to learn, because learning how to capture attention and retain their attention is extremely valuable. Learning how to amplify their attention so they listen to you long enough so that you can share with them new insights that changes their lives, their perspective, their beliefs, and helps them to be able to say yes to your health programs and products. Because at the end of the day, if you don't learn to sell them, then you can't serve them. Just like Zig Ziglar said, this is where you're able to help support them long term. So that's the H in SHO. And then the S is story. Once you capture their attention, one thing that I learned is that our brain and our body, our mind, we just filter life through stories. We, like Jesus in Matthew 13:34, the scripture says, when speaking to the multitude, without a parable, he spake nothing to them. I remember reading that, I'm like, wait a second, you mean to tell me that every time that Jesus spoke to the public, he preached parables, these persuasive parables that have a point, that, and that was like really powerful to me. And I began to realize, I was listening to Steve Larson. We paid $1,000 to be able to attend this event, and he was explaining that when you are speaking to sell, it's very, very different than when you're speaking to teach. And for the first 5 years, I was speaking to teach, and I was missing a lot of details. I mean, I was missing, I wasn't seeing people applying the principles as much. I was sharing the facts, cooking classes, health lectures, health seminars, teaching them everything I knew on the subject in 60 minutes or less, just trying to give them everything that they would need to be able to change their life. But a lot of times what happens is what we think is over-delivering is actually overwhelming. Because when you give people big to-do lists, they walk away, they're like, oh, I got to do all this stuff first before I can even think about investing in your program. That's why a lot of consultation calls don't convert. That's why a lot of speeches, they're not actually bringing in new clients. It's not that speaking doesn't work. It's not that consulting calls don't work. It's that it's the manner in how you're speaking. You are speaking to teach, not to sell. So speaking to sell was a different skill set. I met Dave MacArthur, and he made over $12 million on the back of one signature speech. And I learned that when he shared with me, he's like, look, Enoch, facts tell, stories sell. If you want to help people, lead people to a decision, and that's in their best interest, then you're going to have to learn how to tell stories. And I remember at this event with Steve Larson, he made over $10 million selling his health program. It was like a weight loss ketone kind of drink, and what he was doing is he shared with me, you want to surround all these principles in stories. Learn to surround your statements in stories, package your principles in parables. And he was saying that you want it to be 80% stories, 20% steps. And he tested this on his audience. He has a podcast, and he was sharing how how his in the comments section, people were like, "What's all these stories? This is all fluff. Give us the steps. Give us the strategies. We want to know. We want to know what to do. Stop with all the stories, right?" And I used to think stories were fluff. And some of my broke early mentors who were speakers, they also thought stories were fluff. And then what Steve Larson was doing, he's like, well, I mean, based on what I know about human nature and psychology and how we learn, like stories are really important. But his audience were like, we need the steps, not the stories. He's like, all right, I'll test it. I'll test it out, and I'll remove the stories from the content. I'm just going to give you the strategies, the steps, and exactly what you asked for. And then when he did that, his views tanked, his engagement tanked, the comments disappeared, people stopped showing up, they stopped sharing the podcast with others. Like, you have analytics in the background of whatever content you're showing, and he saw the analytics, and the numbers do not lie. And they said that they wanted the steps and the strategies, but when he gave that to them, it's like they all disengaged. And he's like, okay, well, I mean, that's not too surprising. But then he went back to creating 80% stories, 20% steps. And then what happened? His views increased, his engagement increased, his shares increased, the retention, meaning how long they actually listened to him to finish the training, that grew too. So he's like, look, a lot of people are thinking they want the steps, the science, the statistics, the strategies, and they want to know all these things. But the reality is, just knowing the how-to alone isn't enough to transform people's lives. They need to have the why-to, the stories that's going to stick in their mind, these lessons. Because facts fade, but stories stick. And if you want your message to be memorable, if we want our statements and concepts to be sticky, we need to learn how to surround our statements in stories. And that what got me on a journey where I was like, okay, well, now I get to find out, when did I first learn this concept? How much did it cost me to get access to this? Or how hard was it before I learned this experience? And rather than just giving the answer, telling the backstory of what's happened before learning this concept. And by doing that, it captures people's attentions more. It helps them to connect with you more. They resonate with your story, your experience, your background, and it opens up more doors where they're actually more receptive. They start to value your ideas so much more because stories increase the perceived value. Stories is what prepares people to be in a receptive state of mind where they could actually receive your offer, which brings to the next step, which is offer. In the hook, story, offer, you always want to have some sort of call to action. Always have some step that people can do. Like, for instance, in this slide, I mean, I'm sharing with you a concept in my book, but if you want to go deeper on this, if you want to repeat and enlarge and know how to apply this with actual guides to walk you through it, then grab a copy of my book. When you buy it from our website, highincomehealthexpert.com/book from the link that's on the screen right over there, this will get you access to the video series that will help you to implement these things in more detail. So that's an offer. That's something that you can actually, it's a call to action, something that you can click. I learned this when speaking at churches. I realized that you never want to end a sermon without a call to action, without some sort of appeal to apply the principles to our life. Because there's a lot of people who are just almost persuaded, but they need very clear instructions to do something in order to tip them over the scale, to take action, to make a decision, to shift their habits. And so giving them an opportunity to, whether it's book a call with you, to take a look at a masterclass you've done, to be able to attend an event with you, or whatever ways for you to audit or consult with them, these are really powerful. Or grab a copy of your book. And sometimes the call to action is just subscribe, which, by the way, if you've liked this video and you found this to be helpful, subscribe to our YouTube channel, be a part of the community. And if you've seen the replays, we actually do this on Zoom. You can actually come on and I'm going to do some Q&A after this when we stop the recording. Then you can ask questions and we can help support you along the way. And so it's fun to be able to see each other, hear wins when you come early. You could share what's been working well. And these are the types of things that you want to be thinking about, is how can you give them a call to action? Maybe it's a share, maybe it's a like, maybe it's a subscribe to your email newsletter, whatever it is. Find ways that you can communicate with people, add value, solve problems, or maybe it's to buy your back end offer, to be a part of your community, your paid community, so that they can get deeper access. So number 3 is always use a hook story offer. And so let's recap a bit of what we've covered so far. This is what to do when your views are low and you're creating content and you're just wondering, like, how do I make sense of this? Number 1, remember why you started creating content. This is, again, the story of why you created, what got you started, why does this matter to you? You want to change people's lives, maybe you want to change your financial stability for your family, create a financial fortress around your family for future generations. Whatever it is, you see people are winning, changing lives, impacting others, and you want to do it in a sustainable way. Whatever it is, like when I was trying to be consistent, I wrote, like, make a written list and make it, stack those reasons as long as you possibly can. Get as many like written reasons that you can of why you're starting, why creating content is essential to your goals, your dreams, your desires, and your why is why you won't quit. So number 2 is to create a follow-up system for communicating, nurturing your leads, to furthering those conversations, to be able to get more insights, to get to know who you're serving, who are you talking to. The more conversations you can have with your ideal clients, this is going to be extremely helpful. And number 3, always use the hook, story, offer framework. This will help your content, 1, get more views, 2, increase your retention, and 3, increase the number of conversions that people, the actions that people take. Because at the end of the day, you want people to take action, to make a decision that's going to actually affect what they are, what they're doing. And if you like this and you want to go deeper, if you want to know more about these things or ask more questions, every month I host a challenge for health educators, and we teach you how to master your marketing so you can get your message to the masses. You can monetize your knowledge online. Call this the High Income Health Expert Challenge, and where you can ask any questions that you want. For 4 sessions, you can get 4, there's a VIP session. There's a VIP coaching that you can be a part. You get backstage pass. It's free for everyone to attend, but if you want to ask questions for your specific business and dive deep into the community, then it's just $49. For only $49, you can get on there, ask all of your questions. Just go to highincomehealthexpert.com. We're hosting one soon, and you could register. It's free, and we also have some bonus trainings in there that you can get, or you can text the number on the screen. We'll be happy to help you. Today we're talking about what to do when your health content is not getting very many views, and how you can think about that, how you can approach that. But remember, friends, that God doesn't call a qualified, He qualifies a called. I look forward to seeing you again. Have a great day, and God bless.